From the World Pork Expo in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. In today's show, Dustin wraps up his conversation with Department of the Interior Associate Deputy Secretary Karen Budd-Falen. Mark talks about getting younger consumers invested in pork with National Pork Board Vice President of Market Growth Jose De Jesus. And I go over yesterday's USDA press conference for New World Screwworm. I'm Riley Smith, one of your hosts for today, and joining me now is Mark Magnuson. And Mark, we are here at the Iowa State Fairgrounds for World Pork Expo 2026, and I will say, so far, this has been one of the nicer pork expos for the weather.
It has been, Riley. You know, normally already at this point of the day on World Pork Expo day number one, it's starting to feel pretty steamy and super hot, but actually not too bad out there this morning. It almost feels a little bit more maybe like a state fair morning where it's not. I guess some of those mornings can be pretty hot as well, but it's a little bit cooler here this morning. And as you said, it's a lot more manageable. And of course, as I was coming into the fairgrounds today, I was kind of scoping everything out. And I, thought there was a good deal of traffic, a lot of vehicles making their way into the fairgrounds. I think this is going to be a well-attended and a highly attractive event for the pork industry this year for World Pork Expo. Seems like there's a lot of people here already, and I'm excited to get some of these conversations started here today as we will be, of course, discussing things with a lot of the national groups. I'm about to head over to the National Pork Board for a little bit of discussion later, but we'll actually have a bit of discussion already, kind of a preview to the show here with National Pork Board's Jose De Jesus, Vice President of Market Growth, as we will talk about some of the things that younger consumers can enjoy about pork. And one of those things is kind of the cultural tie-ins of enjoying, like, for example, the World Cup this summer, a sporting event, and you think about all of the cultural tie-ins to the World Cup. Well, a lot of the countries that will be involved in the World Cup will be having parties, watching the World Cup, and a lot of the consumers from those countries are big fans of pork. So what better occasion to put those two things together than to, enjoy a sporting event, get some delicious pork going on the grill, maybe something like that. And younger consumers were learning about how they are, using those marketing efforts from the National Pork Board to get them invested in buying pork at the store. And of course, Riley, while we will be heavily watching everything happening in the pork industry while we're here at World Pork Expo, we also have to keep an eye on everything else that's happening around the world of ag. And I know we're going to hear more from the press conference yesterday about New World Screwworm, but could you kind of give us a 60,000-foot view? What are we looking at right now with the screwworm situation in Mexico?
Well, the big thing to cover with that is that there was not a detection within a mile of the border. That was kind of the big story going around early yesterday and kind of Monday as well. And it was actually a 25-mile away location, so that's still pretty close, though. So we're looking at, okay, what are we going to do to escalate the efforts to control New World Screwworm? So we're looking at a lot of, okay, we need to track these, but they've got the map online. They're looking at kind of heightened, border kind of patrol situations where they're looking at shipments of livestock. And they're also just looking at the screwworm, the sterile fly production facilities. And they've got a new one that's being built in Texas, but that won't be ready until next year. But they do have distribution centers. I remember it was Moore Air Force Base that's been repurposed into a distribution facility to hopefully get more of those sterile flies out. And, that was one of those things where that, to me, feels like a newer solution. It's actually been around for a while. I believe when they had a detection in Florida a while ago, that is one of the methods they used to keep track of that. So it's tried and true. This isn't just something that we're experimenting with right now. We know it'll work. So Rollins was kind of just really, I would say, reassuring on that is what she was trying to do. Of just, we have a plan. We're doing our government preparedness. And even if things get bad, they're still ready for anything that comes our way. So yeah, like you mentioned, that's a more of a cattle thing that we're seeing there, but it can impact any animals. They're worried about the wildlife side of things as well. And now we'll take a look at the opening market conversation. Mark, I know you had a chance to get a preview of just how things had been going on this morning.
Price action for corn is steady to a penny higher so far this morning. Futures closed the Tuesday session with the weakness continuing as contracts were down 2.5 to 6 cents across the board, led by the new crop months. Open interest suggested new selling interest up 13,907 contracts. The Commodity View national average price for corn was down 3.25 cents to $4.04 and a half. NASS crop progress data showed 93% of the U.S. corn crop planted as of May 31st. That's 1 percentage point ahead of normal. Emergence was at 76% of the expected area, 2% faster than normal. The initial corn crop rating came in at 67% good to excellent, coming in below the 70% estimate from a Reuters survey of analysts and 2% below the year prior. That was a 371 rating on the Brugler 500 index, which is a 100 to 500 point scale of the 5 USDA categories. In the soybeans are trading with Wednesday morning gains of 6 to 7.25 cents. Futures posted losses of as little as 4 cents in the deferreds, with nearbys down as much as 16 cents. Open interest suggested rolling out of July, with contracts down 4,746 and the rest of the board up 6,697 contracts. The Commodity View national average cash bean price was down 15.75 cents at 11.06 3/4. Soy meal futures were down 30 cents to $3.10 higher, with soy oil futures 5 to 70 points lower. Weekly crop conditions data indicated 87% of the U.S. soybean crop planted by Sunday. That's 7% faster than normal. Emergence was 8 percentage points ahead of the average at 65%. Crop ratings were released this week, showing 66% of the U.S. soybean crop in good or excellent condition, down 1% from the same week last year and below the 68% estimate. That translates to a 369 on the Brugler 500 index, a 3-year low, and the 4th lowest initial rating in the last 13 years. Every county fair has that special person or family. They are there before the gates open and long after the lights go out, helping families with projects and pitching in wherever they're needed, never asking for recognition. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, along with Wiffles Hybrids, is honoring them with the Heart of the County Fair Award. 6 winners will be recognized locally and at the Iowa State Fair, with a plaque, cash prize, VIP passes, and food coupons. Don't delay. Nominations are due June 1st. Visit iowaagnet.com to nominate today.
You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Riley Smith joining the show today. Mark Magnuson hosting with me as well. And yesterday, USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins held a press conference with the media to provide a full update on the new World Screwworm situation and clear up some misleading headlines that have been circulating. There was a lot of concern building over an alleged detection of New World Screwworm less than a mile from the border, but this was not the case. Rollins said there are new cases that have been reported, but the closest one is still 25 miles away.
Mexico reported 8 new detections of New World Screwworm late last week. These should all be on the screwworm.gov website, so I don't think this is new news. One of those that was detected was a 5-year-old goat in Coahuila, approximately 25 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. So this is the closest we've seen it. I know we've had one last fall about 60 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border, and we surged information at that point. We're able to push it back a little bit. So we certainly been working around the clock, but the fact that this one is only 25 miles, this goat that it was found, we thought it was probably time to start ramping up communications efforts. This is, of course, our closest confirmed detection to date.
This case is too close for comfort, and Rollins said the USDA has ramped up its detection and mitigation efforts, which is largely centered around a sterile fly production facility that is being built in Texas.
That facility will be capable of producing up to 300 million additional sterile flies per week, which is what we really need to begin pushing this back to South America. At the same time, we simultaneously launched a $100 million innovation initiative, expanded our border surveillance. We established detector dog programs for our border, our ports of entry. We're talking a lot of livestock today, but all animals, the most recent detections, 20, 30, 50, 70 miles from the border, many of them are cats, dogs, sheep, goats, etc. So making sure that even though we're not moving livestock through the border ports right now, we have detector dogs on the border at all the entrances, to check all of and everything that's coming across the border.
Rollins said the latest efforts include government preparedness exercises and sterile fly dispersal.
Our efforts have not ceased, and we have expanded our work throughout 2026 this year. January saw USDA launch a whole of government preparedness exercise with the Department of Homeland Security and with the CDC. And in February, we secured emergency treatment authorization through the FDA, which the EPA, sorry, all the acronyms here, the EPA later granted as well. So I am in constant communication with Lee Zeldin, Marty McCary, now Kyle Diamantis, with Bobby Kennedy, certainly with Mark Wayne Mullen on the Homeland Security border front, et cetera. This is an all of Trump administration effort. We also expanded sterile fly dispersal operations into Tamaulipas in January. And the following month, we opened the Moore air-based dispersal facility. So while we're building the production facility, which will come online next year, we actually opened a different facility at Moore Air Base, which allows us to more efficiently disperse the flies that are being produced in Panama.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, you need reliable information. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network brings you ag-specific content like market trends, weather outlooks, and policy updates that matter to your operation, while your local station brings you community news and consistent updates on what is happening in your area. It's a partnership built for the challenges of rural life. Your farm, your local station, and your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Find us online at iowaagnet.com. Let's run down those basis numbers for you here on Iowa Ag Matters on this Wednesday. I'm Dustin Huffman. We're not seeing very much change in the market bid offerings here today. Just a few elevators making adjustments, some to the positive, some to the negative. Let's go ahead and run down how they're pricing today. ADM Burlington 13 cents under on corn, $4.27. Soybean 16 cents under, $11.54. Cargill Eddyville 12 cents under on corn with a cash bid of $4.28. New Co-op Algona 37 cents under on corn, $4.03. Soybean 60 cents under, they're at $11.10 for the cash price. Ag State Sheldon 21 cents under on corn, $4.19. Soybean 65 cents under at $11.05. Ag State Elta, they're 35 cents under on corn, $4.05. Soybean 60 cents under at $11.10. Cargill Cedar Rapids 7 cents under on corn, $4.33. Soybeans are even today at $11.70. Five-Star Co-op Nashua 30 cents under on corn, $4.10. Soybeans 50 cents under at $11.20. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada 22 cents under on corn, $4.18. ADM Des Moines 25 cents under on soybeans. The cash bid there $11.45. New Co-op Red Oak 30 cents under on corn, $4.10. Soybeans 55 cents under, $11.15. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain 40 cents under on corn, $4 even. Soybeans 72 cents under, cash bid $10.98. New Co-op Sheraton 30 cents under on corn, cash price $4.10. Soybeans 55 cents under, $11.15. Walk-On Feed Ranch 49 cents under on corn, $3.91. Soybeans 62 cents under, $11.08. New Co-op Glidden 34 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.06. Soybeans 60 cents under at $11.10. Innovative Ag Services Farley 42 cents under on corn, $3.98. Soybeans 62 cents under, cash price $11.08. And finally today at Cargill and Muscatine, they are 20 cents under on corn. The cash price there, $4.20. Soybeans are 24 cents under. Cash bid, $11.46. Cash corn and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevators when making sales to obtain the most recent price. That's been a rundown of your cash basis bids here on Iowa Ag Matters. We'll be right back after this message.
Stay informed with the closing market report from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your essential summary of the day's market activities and their impact on the agricultural economy. Join us for timely updates and expert commentary on commodity prices and market trends with trusted ag market analysts from around the Midwest. Tune in every Monday through Friday on your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate for your daily market recap and insights to stay ahead in the ag economy. Well, as we mentioned earlier in the show, we're broadcasting from the World Pork Expo at the Iowa State Fairgrounds in Des Moines today. We will be here today and tomorrow for the show. And as kind of a pre-show check-in, Mark Magnuson visited with Jose De Jesus of the National Pork Board, and they're making a big effort to get younger consumers more interested in purchasing and consuming pork.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Jose De Jesus of the National Pork Board. And Jose, before we jump into things, could you remind me, please, your role at the National Pork Board?
You bet, Mark. I am the Vice President for Market Growth.
And I know we have talked here recently, in fact, Jose, about the Taste What Pork Can Do campaign, but we kind of wanted to look at it from a little bit different angle here today as well. And the Taste What Pork Can Do campaign, of course, is in full swing. That has been fully rolled out. And I wanted to ask you specifically about some areas of that campaign and ways that National Pork Board is trying to get the message out. And one of those things I wanted to ask you about is global flavors of pork. How does that fit into sports and culture?
Yeah, you bet, Mark. Well, first of all, I'll start by saying, our goal really is to get more household, consumption, right? So really get more people eating more pork more often. And when you think about pork being a global protein, I think it fits really nicely with things that are happening this summer. So take, for example, the World Cup and all the opportunities there. Pork is king in global cuisine, and I think it presents a huge opportunity this time of year when that event is taking place to really position pork as a global protein of choice. So think about teams that are coming over and think about like whether it's a South American country like Colombia, or it could be Mexico, it could be Italy, whatever the case might be in different parts of the world. I think there's a huge opportunity for pork to be that protein of choice for consumers. So we're having a little bit of fun with that. I mean, this is an event that also caters to a lot of younger consumers, and that's primarily our target audience as well. So I think when you think about that consumer that's looking for really fun ideas to cook with and things that taste amazing, taste and flavor and balance, nutrition and convenience and versatility, I think pork is positioned to really deliver in all those things. So really excited about that opportunity. It's just pork is the number one meat consumed in the world. And I think there's a really big affinity with pork as it relates to, many different countries. So it's just an opportunity for pork to really shine in a global stage.
And speaking of pork kind of being in the spotlight and being the star of the show, we also know that summer grilling season, well, it's already kicked off a little bit. Let's call it spring grilling season, but we will get into the heart of summer grilling season here soon. How can pork really be that star of the show like we talked about as grilling season approaches?
You bet. We started our grilling season earlier this year, right? Normally Memorial Day weekend. It's sort of when we try to kick things off, but we started at the beginning of May, and that's because a lot of people are out and about and grilling earlier than that, particularly in some states where the weather is not necessarily an issue, right? And so we're really focused there. I think pork, when you think about the grilling summer months, pork is just really fits really nicely with that. Think about pork chops on the grill or ribs, whether it's smoked or grilled. I think pork has a big opportunity, and it's really another way to look at it is having or being a star of the show, if you will, right? So, grilling season is huge for pork. Lots of people out and about with friends and family and doing a lot of things out there. And I think pork is just the perfect protein to be really engaged with. And so, we have a lot of content out there, really thinking about how pork can really meet their needs for consumers and how can really be part of that enjoyment, if you will. And so we're excited about it. We're in full swing, and this grilling season goes all the way till probably early September.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Well, I tell you what, Mark, with those marketing strategies of getting more people interested in consuming pork, I think there's one big strategy here that works really well, and it's the smell of the pork being cooked by the Tama County pork producers, as they'll be preparing lunch for us today. And I mean, every time I step outside and it's getting close to that noon hour, I can't wait to get a rib, and I know you can get a sandwich there as well. And I think it's a good opportunity, actually, just to get more people eating pork here.
And that is kind of what we talked about in that interview, as you heard with Jose, is the fact that we're getting ready for summer grilling season. And what better thing to kind of bring everybody together than an event around a grill? And when you get the pork on the grill, it just kicks it up to the next level because pork, as we know, along with all meat proteins, are having a moment. We've heard that from consumers who are buying more protein at the store. We know that from some of the dietary guidelines that we've seen changed from the government recently, and the fact that protein has become more of a prominent aspect of the dietary guidelines. And so that really ties in to the lean nutrition that pork provides. And it is, again, just something that all comes together when you have a grilling event. And that is certainly the case here with a giant grill at World Pork Expo. And then you have people from not only all over Iowa enjoying the pork products here at the expo, but the entire country and then the world. It is World Pork Expo. I mean, it is an international show. And so it is a great event to kind of put pork on the center stage.
I think it's always interesting to draw attention to the fact that it is a global show, because I think that's, it's just part of the fairgrounds. It's not the whole fairgrounds, and it can feel a little smaller, but it truly is global. And I think that makes sense because it feels at home to us, but that's because Iowa is the top pork producing state in the country. So it just feels natural to have things here and get all that conversation happening. We'll have more Iowa Ag Matters in a moment.
In rural Iowa, you need reliable information. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network brings you ag-specific content like market trends, weather outlooks, and policy updates that matter to your operation, while your local station brings you community news and consistent updates on what is happening in your area. It's a partnership built for the challenges of rural life. Your farm, your local station, and your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Find us online at iowaagnet.com.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Joined at midday by Connor Bridgman of agmarket.net for our midday market discussion. Connor, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Yeah, another negative day this morning. We're really having, it's one of those perfect storms where weather forecast doesn't look that bad. It's definitely not threatening. We're seeing fund liquidation, and then we're also getting a breakdown just looking at technicals. So we've got corn, soybeans, wheat all down. Wheat's being the leader, down 14, but corn's down another 5 cents. Soybeans, we've been positive for a little bit, but we're down 3 cents as we look at it right now.
And then Connor as well, just big picture, to feed a bull market, you got to have those news stories rolling in that are positive stories. Have we just run out of steam in that respect, as we don't have a lot of positive news stories to drive the grains at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. When we look at a seasonal weather rally, we need to see some hot, dry weather or something like that. Right now, we're not getting it. The weather's pretty non-threatening, and you couple that with a long fund position. They liquidated a little bit of in corn, but we still have a pretty good long position in soybeans. And then the other card, crude oil, that kind of maybe kicked off this rally. Grains continue not to care. We're kind of decoupling from where crude oil is going. So yes, a little bit that old adage, bulls need fed every day. We need the next story to kind of get this market back to life.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade today?
Yeah, we got, especially I'm looking at feeder cattle. We got some decision making to do. We're right at the 200-day. We were significantly below, but we fought back, and we're kind of just flirting right at there. It'd be nice to see a close above that 200-day. Live cattle, not a little bit higher than the 100-day, 200-day, so not much on the technical front. But again, one of those we tried to go weaker, and we're battling back.
Connor Bridgman of agmarket.net, my guest here today. Head to agmarket.net for all of the great marketing information and resources from the team. Connor, thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Hey, you too. Thanks.
Start your weekend with insight and inspiration on Weekend Ag Matters from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Every week we bring you an in-depth look at the top ag stories with a recap of the week's biggest headlines. Join us for long-format interviews with industry leaders and policymakers, giving you insights you won't hear anywhere else. And don't miss our faith-based segment with Russ Parker, Food for Thought, offering a perspective that helps bring clarity and focus to our lives. Make Weekend Ag Matters part of your weekend routine. Tune in every weekend on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
July corn down 5.5 at $4.35 even. July soybeans down 6.5 at $11.58 3/4. July soybean meal at $3.23, down $3.20. July soybean oil up 58 cents at $78.99. Chicago wheat down 14 3/4 at $5.88 1/4. Minneapolis wheat is down 9 cents at $6.28. Kansas City hard red wheat down 12.5 at $6.22 1/4. July oats down 7 1/4 at $3.27 3/4. On the Merc, June live cattle down 45 cents at $247.23. August feeder cattle down $1.33 at $347.10. June lean hogs up 23 cents at $95.93. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
And you're listening to Iowa Ag Matters. Riley Smith here on the show today, filling in for Dustin Huffman. Mark Magnuson hosting as well, and we'll go ahead and get back into the market conversation as Mark takes a look at the latest headlines impacting the livestock markets.
Live cattle futures were down 95 cents to $1.80 across the board on Tuesday. Open interest suggested a rotation of ownership, up just 40 contracts. Cash trades started to creep in this week at $255 in the South, near the $255 to $258 trade from last week. Feeder cattle futures posted losses of $2.20 to $3.55 at the close. The CME feeder cattle index was down $2.88 on June 1st at $364.26. The Tuesday APHIS update on the New World Screwworm showed a total of 1,981 active cases in Mexico as of Monday. There were 181 active cases in the bordering states, with 15 within a range of 74 to 98 miles of the U.S. border. In the hogs, lean hog futures closed the Tuesday session with contracts 35 cents to $1.80 higher. Open interest was up just 358 contracts on the day. USDA's national base hog price was reported at $95.57 on Tuesday afternoon. That's up $1.71 from the day prior. The CME lean hog index was back up 11 cents on May 29th at $91.51. USDA's pork carcass cutout value from the Tuesday afternoon report was up 84 cents at $100.59 per hundredweight. The loin, butt, and picnic primals were reported lower. USDA estimated federally inspected hog slaughter for Tuesday at 487,000 head, taking the weekly total to 984,000 head. This has been a check of the livestock.
In rural Iowa, you need reliable information. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network brings you ag-specific content like market trends, weather outlooks, and policy updates that matter to your operation, while your local station brings you community news and consistent updates on what is happening in your area. It's a partnership built for the challenges of rural life. Your farm, your local station, and your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Find us online at iowaagnet.com.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Every county fair has that special person or family. They are there before the gates open and long after the lights go out, helping families with projects and pitching in wherever they're needed, never asking for recognition. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, along with Wiffles Hybrids, is honoring them with the Heart of the County Fair Award. 6 winners will be recognized locally and at the Iowa State Fair, with a plaque, cash prize, VIP passes, and food coupons. Don't delay. Nominations are due June 1st. Visit iowaagnet.com to nominate today. You're listening to the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. It is time now for Dustin to wrap up his conversation with Karen Budd-Falen of the Department of the Interior. So we've been learning a lot about that department here in recent days, and Dustin will wrap things up today. Here's more with Dustin.
Budd-Falen was also asked about how this rangeland management is going to be affected with the amount of western drought that's been going on, as we had heard earlier from USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey, and how that could affect some of the programs that are available for some of that rangeland management.
Yeah, and I think the truth is I think that most ranchers are anticipating that, because if there's not the AUMs there, we're not going to graze our cattle there. I mean, why would I jeopardize the health of a cattle herd with the genetics that I built up by not giving them enough to eat? And so I think ranchers are going to make that adjustment. We are trying to anticipate that. Several weeks ago, Department of Interior put together a map that people can look at in terms of vacant allotments, where cattle have been eliminated for who knows what reason back in the past. And so we're trying to open that up so that if you don't have a place to go with your cattle, maybe there's a vacant allotment nearby so that you can have some of those grazing resources. The the Fish and Wildlife Service is also looking at wildlife refuges. Wildlife refuges allow livestock grazing if it's compatible with the purpose of the refuge. And so U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service now is going through what they call a compatibility determination of every wildlife refuge to determine if there's some additional grazing for livestock that can occur on those refuges to provide additional AUMs in this horrible drought year.
The wolves aren't the only issue that cattle producers are dealing with across the country. Out in the western plains, especially in the Montana and Wyoming region, grizzly bears are a problem, but as well as like the wolves, they are also protected.
Without committing myself to an answer, which I kind of do anyway, because I'm a ranch kid. At OIRA now, which is the federal agency that coordinates with all the other federal agencies for rulemaking, is a regulation to downlist the grizzly to threatened and then adopt a 4D rule. And under the Endangered Species Act, a 4D rule is a rule that Department of Interior writes that looks at the causes of the listing and then tailors the cure to the causes. If you don't have a 4D rule, then all take is unlawful. But with the 4D rule, if you're doing something to bother the bear and it's not one of the reasons that it is on the endangered species list, you can do it. And so we are going to do that as a first step to try to get relief, especially in states like Wyoming and parts of Montana, where the grizzly populations are over the management numbers. You've got other areas in the U.S. like western Montana and in Idaho where the populations are not where they need to be to delist. But we're going to provide a lot of management flexibility for all the states so that the states can take a lot more active role in the management of the grizzly. Once we get that completed, which should be completed before the end of this year, we can then look at whether we can delist all or part of the bear.
The Department of Interior also had already committed $20 million to help with the restructuring of the areas that have been affected by wildfires. And she was asked whether or not there was concern that $20 million wouldn't be enough.
Yes. We are looking for every dollar we can find within our budget to try to work on those drought issues and the wildfire issues. I am truly afraid this is going to be a horrendous wildfire year. We have already issued guidance that said that on Department of Interior lands, we will not let it burn. So if you get a lightning strike, if you get a fire, we're going to put it out immediately. We're also working hard on our agreements with local fire departments, local ranchers, because the truth is you guys find them way faster than we can. The guy on the allotment can see the lightning strike up on the hill and he knows. So we're really trying to strengthen those so we can get to these fires faster so that they don't burn out of control, because I think this is going to be a very, very difficult year considering the drought.
Your local radio station brings you the pulse of your community. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network adds specialized ag content to help farmers make informed decisions. From county fairs to national ag news, we're here to tell the story of agriculture to everyone who needs to hear it. Together, we deliver a blend of local community and ag industry-focused information that rural Iowa relies on every day. This message from your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode of Iowa Ag Matters. Once again, we are here at the World Pork Expo in Des Moines. Very excited to be hearing the latest industry updates, and we are also excited to be bringing these to you in the coming week. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.